In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, everybody, we're back to another edition of The Blueprint. And this is just a short and special edition I wanted to cover because Micah and I just finished a documentary video on the ADU that I completed just about maybe a month and a half or so ago. And I just wanted to kind of go through. There's a lot of people asking about ADUs, want to talk about what they are, and in California specifically, why there's a big push for them, and the benefits of doing that. So that's what we're just going to talk about it today and cover that. And then if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to help you with that process. I've done that with a couple of clients already. So let's start with the story. So I've got a couple rental properties local here, and they're on decent sized lots. And one of them in particular already had a separate unit on it, a guest unit. It actually wasn't permitted as an ADU. It was permitted as an art studio. So the first thing I wanted to do was get that converted into a living unit. It had all the requirements to do that. Just had to do some minor changes. But the second thing was there was enough room to add a second ADU. And so I hired a professional to help me with this process. And let me tell you that was probably the number one best thing that I did instead of trying to navigate this myself. Hanna from ADU Wonders, and he was on the podcast here a couple of months ago, and you can go back and watch all the information that he shared with us on that. But he was instrumental in not only investigating the local requirements, he knew the state requirements, and he was able to navigate through some of the, let's say, red tape that they were trying to impose on me through the process because he knew the law. But he did the research up front. He did the design work. He helped with really everything in the project that was needed to make it turnkey, including finding me a fantastic contractor. So kudos go out to you, France, for all your help. And that's why I hired him again. We're doing another one. But the whole reason for this was I've got this rental property, throws off some pretty decent income. But locally here, to buy another rental property, it's really tough to cash flow. Properties have gone way up in value. Of course, interest rates are up as well. And, just rent isn't enough unless you're coming in with a very large down payment to justify doing that with another property today. So if you could build a unit for less and the rent justifies the cost of doing it, it makes a lot more sense. And because of the housing shortage here in California, they've come up with these new laws for these ADUs. So you can think of them as granny flats or a guest home or something like that, but it's really an accessory dwelling unit. That's what all the laws basically call it. So AB 976 was a bill that was passed, and SB 1211 to streamline that process. And so it's a lot easier today than it's ever been to get permits on these and to avoid some of the restrictions and requirements you would have in just building regular homes. So I want to go through some of those with you today, and I brought up the screen here so we can navigate it together. And then talk very specifically about my project and see if you have something like this and you think you want to add an ADU or create an ADU with your property, because it doesn't have to be a separate structure. It could be an add-on to your structure. It could be converting a garage, or maybe separating upstairs from downstairs. There's many ways to go about doing this. But basically, there's a lot of streamlining that's involved in this in the permitting process. So there's no owner occupancy requirements on this. That's one of the big ones. You don't have to occupy the property. It could be a rental property. Again, California is just looking to add more affordable units because there's a shortage. There's simplified permitting. As long as you're doing an ADU of 1,200 square feet or less, they really pushed this through very quickly. Now, there are some other aspects of this that we talked about in the previous podcast where you may want to limit it to 749 square feet or 800 square feet to avoid maybe some of the school fees and the other fees that they charge when you get into the bigger units. So, for example, the one that I just finished was 800 square feet. That was the sweet spot, not only for the footprint of this one, but also the cost of it. So there's junior ADUs. There's guidelines for what they call junior ADUs or full ADUs. So just to give you an idea of the type of properties that you can build or convert that qualify under these new laws. There's also financing available. So you can do standard financing like cash out financing to do it. CalHAFA offers financing for ADU assistance. There's some grant money, although it runs out very, very quickly. So I haven't been able to help anybody with the grant side of things, but there's ways to finance this. So anyway, let's walk through what I did on this particular property. And we're going to put a link below, not only for the YouTube video that we're going to post that walks you through. What is it, Micah? About 15 minutes, the YouTube video?
22.
22 minutes. Okay, exactly 22 minutes. So we'll put a link to that so you can go check it out. Go to YouTube and watch it. It's pretty cool. It really is Micah did a great job to make it interesting and engaging, but it'll walk you through literally from when we started all the way to the end. So got the permits, and then we started filming when we broke ground, actually before we broke ground, as we were mapping it out all the way to the very, completed project where you see, it was just done so well. Everything that we chose in there, the look of it, the layout, it just was superb. Very happy with it. So made the decision to do this and started with the permitting process. Got plans from France. We went back and forth. We figured out the best layout for that property. I approved everything. Went in, had to pay all the fees for the plans and so forth, and give you an idea between hiring France for the kind of first investigative process to see the viability of the project through doing the plans and getting the engineering. I want to say that was maybe around 25 grand, maybe 30 at the most, including the permits that the city required, or the county required in this case. So really from the time of hiring him through being ready to contract with the contractor to get started is right around there, $25,000 to $30,000. And then the bids I got for this job, this 800 square foot ADU, which included the outside concrete work and the landscaping, it was really turnkey, was all in about $260,000 to $270,000. So really, with everything, appliances, everything, it was about $300,000, plus or minus. Might have been a little more than that. I didn't keep track of, but somewhere around $300,000 for an 800 square foot unit. Now, with that, I thought we could rent it for just over $3,000 a month for the base rent, and we wound up slightly under. So we wound up at $2,950 a month, plus utilities and so forth. So I was pretty darn close with what my estimations were, and that makes a lot of sense. The numbers just make sense to be able to spend $300,000 and then have a rental for $3,000 a month. Those numbers work. So for me, I was very excited about that. But once we were done with the permit process, got the bids, hired the contractor. In this case, it was Vahe. So again, if you're in California, say the southern part of California from Santa Barbara south, these are great contacts for you. So you can talk to France, you can talk to Vahe. They know this business. They do it very well. I'm super happy with them, and we'll put their contact information below. But that was it. Then we started. I stayed pretty plugged into the process, not only to document it for you so that we had this video, but also I wanted to make sure it was done right. And I've built homes before where I was a little bit more of an absentee, and there were some things that I ended up not being happy with because I missed it. So in this case, I stayed pretty plugged in along the way. We made adjustments, we made changes. You'll see all that in the video. We poured concrete. I wanted to make sure the concrete was good because that's permanent. And you'll see everything in this video recreated. So from start to finish. There's a little bit of weather delay. Of course, we're pretty lucky here in Southern California. We don't get much of that. But overall, it took from the time we broke ground to the time that it was turnkey, ready to move in, it was about 6 months. Could we have done it quicker than that? Possibly. But, things happen and there are small delays. But I think that's a pretty good timeline. So I think it took me somewhere around 4 months or so, maybe 5 months on the outside for the permitting process and the plans. Some of that was delaying on my part. I would be, have the plans and need to review, and it took me, some time to review them and then get back with my comments. But somewhere around there, and then the permitting side of it. So yeah, you can expect to get this done in well under a year, and some of it's dependent on how much you push on that. So anyway, that gives you an idea. These ADUs are really viable. You can have 2 of them. You can have 3 of them. Sometimes you can have 6 or 7 on your property. And it just, again, depends where the property's at. And there's a viability study that, in this case, France did for me. But he made some introduction to me for some other property that you could put 6 or 7 units on it. So really, really great option if you're into single family investing and renting, and you want to leverage and get the most out of a property you can. Who knows how long this will be around? It is today. There's a big push for more housing, for more affordable housing. If somebody goes to rent, to give you a comparison, if somebody goes to rent, say, an 1,100 square foot home in this area, they're going to pay somewhere around $3,800 a month in rent, sometimes more than that. If you go to rent an apartment, that same size apartment, believe it or not, is even more money. It can be $4,500 a month for an 1,100 square foot apartment, like a 3-bedroom apartment. So for somebody to get an 800 square foot with a yard that's cordoned off, brand new construction, beautiful features on it, and get into that for under $3,000 a month, it's very appealing. So that just gives you an idea, a little glimpse into ADUs. And I wanted to walk you through just basically how long it took me to do it and approximate cost. But go watch the video. Again, we're going to post that below. We'll post the resources in the video as well on YouTube. And that's it for the edition today, guys. Thanks for listening. And again, really appreciate it if you follow, you like, you share, tell your friends about the blueprint, and help spread the word. It helps us to get more traction, bring in some better guests, and give you more information on how you can succeed as well.